Okay. I did some arts and crafts. That's fun because apparently the Netherlands is very like environmentally friendly and doesn't sell these plastic rings anymore. I went through a couple of supermarkets, couldn't find it. So, you know, that's great. Well done. So I was tasked with doing this beautiful thing, doing the first pass of layout for all of the shots. This is ritual. So just, you know, as I wanted to do like a little thought process thing. So out of all of these, the first thing I did was kind of identify the pillar shots, and that is like spatially, what are the shots that give me the most amount of information, and then the other shots can kind of click into place. So it was this shot here and this shot here, and kind of these two here are kind of related. And then from there on, like all the other ones started kind of fitting a little bit into place. And yeah, I have a lot of different versions and stuff, but I'm just gonna play the comparison. And so this is a rough first pass.
You picked the wrong camping spot, bitches. Sprite them!
Yeah, that one is a work in progress. The really tricky one there. I have to really figure that one out. Before I leave you guys, I wanted to just show you one thing that might be interesting. So the first shot that I worked on that was kind of trying to give me more of a spatial idea of where things were. While I was working on it, this is already like me working on it for like a few hours. And then I realized, wait, for the weekly, maybe every now and then I should do a screenshot of what I'm doing, so you can see like a little bit of the evolution. Okay, I should have started doing that earlier for this. The idea came a little bit later. So this is kind of roughly going after the idea that was there in the storyboard, and then removed some of the kind of visual elements, like the boombox really shouldn't be there. And moving the bat, getting kind of the pine cone there, adjusting Rex, adjusting the camera again. Visually, it feel like the bushes needed a little bit more fullness to them, so it's just trying out some stuff, trying different poses, because Jay's character design like really doesn't support him looking up or looking down. It's really weird. So that felt a little bit better, taking off his glasses. We were trying different approaches of how can they be tied together that kind of visually still look good and then visually look okay in some of the other shots from the different angles. For Rex, for example, if we tied his hands like up against his torso, he's like a gorilla, and then it starts like blocking his butt and everything, so it didn't look that good. We were trying like how can it kind of go out into the silhouette. And also like Victoria, like what if it's in front, but then the bat can't be too close because it kind of looks like she's going after the bat. So I did Rex. I think I moved the bat at one point. The jar needed to be there, of course, but we didn't have like a broken version of it. So I shrunk it down a little bit, broke it myself, or made that kind of a version. Adjustments, micro adjustments. And then, yeah, and this is roughly where we ended up right now. So that's my week. Thank you very much.
Okay. So currently we're still, we finalized Nightfall and now moving towards You and Drown. And there's some work still on snacks happening. So I'm going to show Simon's stuff first because he's not here, and that also relates to the work that I've been doing. First thing, he kind of forgot to show this last week. It's just the binoculars that he has been shading. Then he's also preparing the shading of Jay, and especially the boombox, which is super cool. And he worked on also on improving the decals and the little bits and bobs that you see everywhere. Apparently with those boom boxes, like there was not a lot of techie stuff there. So it's very fake. It's all stickers and LEDs and everything. But yeah, we have a little cassette tape deck that is lit, and you'll see that in the lighting setup later. Here's the cassette. Super cool. He made him kind of start very broad and then just noticed that, oh no, there's no space anymore. And he just continued his name. All right, then I won't show the different versions. There's the barbecue grill. And then high-res ground for the scenes in the Mushroom Grove. We also need this high-res ground in Nightfall and in other scenes. John is whispering. Here you can see the system that he made for positioning the high-res patches of ground. So it's basically swapping in a different geometry that has more subdivision, using an empty that can be overridden via RNA overrides, and that can be positioned precisely in each individual shot. So with the size of the empty, we can control how big the area is that is more detailed, and then the rest is just there as usual. And this is all using geometry nodes, which are great. We have the tent. Simon did shading of the tent. This was the first steps, then the collapsed version, and then the version that is kind of there in between, the one that Ellie is building. Tent bag, some more details. Obviously I don't know everything that he wants to say here. Yeah, and then there's preparation for Jay. And for Jay, there was a lot of time this week spent on just the preparation of shading, UV unwrapping, and then preparation for baking. So yeah, this is what Jay is looking like currently, and then Simon will continue that next week. Now, this was all, of course, for you. And I'll just mute this. I lit the 2 shots that the U scene consists of. So we have the big U tree, which was made by Julien. And I've been just kind of tweaking the sets and then tweaking the lighting for this. You can kind of see that I added this very, very subtle bounce light on Jay's face, so that you can actually see his face while he's running. Otherwise, he'd be like in complete darkness. And then there is Drown, and Drown needed still quite some fluid simulation. First to the happy bits. So we have the boombox falling into the water, which kind of was already working last week. And this week I just refined it using different levels of fluid simulation and then foam particles on top of that. You'll see that rendered in the version that I'm going to show you soon. Then we had the fluid, no, I won't show this one. Then we had this part where Jay was being drowned in fluid, and while all the streams are kind of coming down. So the problem was that he's moving a lot, and he's moving on 2, so he's moving quite fast to this medium, through this medium that's supposed to be quite physically accurate, but his movement is not physically accurate. So the liquid kind of reacted to that in very strongly, and this took quite a while to get it to work. So some iterations were just quite extreme, but Rick helped me out. He made a version of Jay's animation on ones. So some of this, what you see here, is not the actual Jay, it's just the animation that's been splined. So don't look at the animation here. But at least here, the behavior, the more it's being worked on, the more it's getting kind of a little bit more, or not, under control. Lots of tests later, I kind of got it to where I like it to be. Oh, this was not it. This one, this was already okay. And then, yeah, I baked a high resolution version overnight, but then you can see that the level of fluid is being lowered while those little cubes are being extruded up. And those are actually fluid inflows, and they are supposed to bring the whole water level up. But for some reason, it doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Well, I found out the hard way in this shot where I was working on this last week, and I think I told you that the challenge was to get the kind of interaction with Jay and the fluid and get the gap between his face and the water to be kind of believable without being too big. But yeah, the fluid simulation didn't really want to help me this week. So after several attempts, I kind of got it to work. And then, hey, it's all exploding. And a little bit more exploding. And a little bit less exploding. That's fine. What is this one here? Yeah, this one I was testing what happens if there's no collision with his body with the water. That also didn't quite work. And I think from this point, yeah, this was just really exploding. No chance. So then again, Rick helped me out. He made an animation on once for this, and it's actually a continuous because this animation reaches into the next shot. So he's actually getting submerged into the surface. You kind of see this drift going on where he drifts to the side. This is between the two shots, between the edit. But to get the continuity working, I needed to have a continuous action. So here it's kind of working. That's nice. All right, cool, with all the particles and everything. The important thing is that Jay here, he's getting kind of submerged in fluid. So he's actually dying right in the middle of the shot. But then the problem was to get a consistent water level at that point, you know, at the right point where you want this to happen, which was very tricky. And this is kind of a side view. So I needed the level to be higher, but that proved to be very tricky. Here it kind of works. And I thought, hey, let's bake this at a very high resolution so we can, I think in the morning it'll be fine. Then the fluid just kind of dissipated and left him flying in the air. So I'm still working on this. This is the current version, still low resolution. It's getting there. Next week, I'll probably have this. It's lots of fun. We'll see the sequence now. Explosion. I just want to point out that this is where we see Simon's animation. So that's super cool. Sorry, I wasn't done here. I'll just quickly show this. I also did this. But I won't talk about it much. I also did this, but I also won't talk about it much. Anyway, that was my week.
So in animation, we haven't been on vacation. So we are also in the middle of the production of intro. Yeah, okay. So intro is on the way, and also village. Those are the two sequences that we're animating, and it's really on to speed right now. We're on both sequences pretty much halfway through, and let me get to something else first, which is in my weekly folder. So next to Hjalti, I also did my version of untangling a bird here. I just wanted to feel the emotion, I guess. So next to that, on Phil, I did some facial testing of the rig. And these poses are for the animators now in the post library to have a base to start from. And also, to test if we are able to reach very cartoony poses and graphical poses with Phil here. And this was a mock-up just to see, like, are we able to create him in a dead pose? There's something where I think we could amplify the eyes here and there with some lattice solutions. Lattices are always the answer. But yeah, it was great to have this character ready, and we'll see some shots with animation in a second. So next to that, let me go to Kitsu here. I have been animating as well. So as for last week, or like since the kickoff, we managed to lock down the music for the Sprite song. So I was able to do some lip syncing on the sprites here, which is this shot right here. This was the previous version. And also the ladybugs in this shot that are coming in, they're not walking. So I was able to finish up this shot. I'll go to the last version. And as you can see, if I step through it, and let me go full screen here, all of these ladybugs, they have multiple legs being drawn in. So that one, yeah, I'm very curious to see this one rendered, and happy to have some singing sprites here. So, and then next to that, I have been working on the first shot, or like the second shot, but the first shot with characters. This was the previous version that I showed last week. And yeah, I've been working on it, and it was a lot of like figuring out how technically to solve a couple of things. Like she's turning around a very chunkified notebook, and how to make sure that that's going to work. Also, her elbow and knee placement had to be locked to the floor. The knees are now done. The elbows are still a little bit floaty, and also I have to still add in the binoculars, which were not in the layout yet. So I have to figure that out. But here we have a version that is splined and on twos, and still some polish to do.
I guess I'll have to add a sound effect for the thunk of the binoculars falling down.
So yeah, that was my week.
So still Phil, like Matthew said, and high resolution ground should be added, but in terms of lighting and set dressing, it should mostly be done right now. No audio, sorry for that. So we added the trash layers, and the tent is in there. Yeah. And this week I started working on snacks, and these are just a few of the changes. Just adding trash, just bringing more focus to Ellie, adding patches, adding the missing salt here, and then just some small tweaks here and there, and yeah, basically just starting to make snacks a bit more nice. So I guess that's it.
So this week I was working on 2 shots of the intro. This is the first one, where Ellie is with the bird helping him. And I'm going to show you the first pass. Yeah, this was the first pass. And from here I have to reduce the movement of Ellie and the bird because the bird was like jumping and moving a lot, and also Ellie. And then I did this version where when Ellie take off the six pack, the bird is like popping. But after that, Hjalti gave me a reference that he can show because it's very funny.
You can
I don't have it here. But so I did the last version, which is almost the final. And Ellie take off the six pack with a lot more gentle and with more care of the bird. And the bird is also with a lot less movement. Yeah, I think, yeah, it's finished almost, I don't know. And also I did this. I have to work on this more, but yes, the first version was different because the bird was like jumping a lot and moving a lot the wings. And finally we put the right wing inside the ring of the six pack, like it's more trapped inside and more vulnerable. So yes, I am still working on this shot. So I think next week I'm going to finish it. And that's all.
So this week I was working on the first shot of, well, not first shot, sorry. I mean the presentation of Elder Sprite. So, well, on the left side, it was the blocking pass I did that I showed you last week. And on the right side, it's more the, well, not final version, but everything on choose and more polish. And well, it was great because the acting part, it was a bit bothering me, but it was cool. So Matthew and Hjalti approved it. So that was fine. But we have a little bit misunderstanding with the falling down, the way he fall down. So, well, we talk about, we have some better overs of Matthew, and we finally came up with that version, which is in blocking. And on the right side is the one I have now. So now, instead of sleeping through the branches, she just, I don't know, sleep up, and it's a lot of cartoony, and it's so much funnier. So that's great. And yeah, so right now on the left side, it's almost done. Maybe I think I need some polish nose on the facials and on the lip sync, but it should be done on Monday. So that's super great. And I think that's all.
Okay, I was doing some set work, mostly related to the background tree. So I finally made some variations of the background trees that work for the beginning. They don't have moss, they're just thinner and just meant to appear a bit younger, and then I just scattered them. So there's actually a forest now in this shot. I actually also straightened the trees, but this is not in this latest Play Blast. Same thing really for this shot over here, just adding all the background forest. So this basically done finally. There was also a lot of work on, there was also a bit of work here, just fixing some trees, their width, so the animation can work better with that, but also just working on these yew trees over here, adding some more twigs to them, moss, hanging moss, which is gonna look much better in lighting. There was this shot over here where there was always this branch that Ellie is kind of dodging, but it needed a bit more work, also adding leaves to it. There's also a couple of renders of this, but Beau already showed some better ones. There was also a bunch of work on this shot and a very similar shot, which is the log bridge connection part of the mushroom grove. Just tweaking a lot on the trees and the bushes, just making this look kind of right and make it connect well to the rest. And then of course also this, I fixed a lot of things here so the sprites actually get to appear out of these little hiding spots. And okay. And then there were a bunch of more adjustments, just essentially on the trees over here. They, for the longest time, looked kind of like rounded, very cartoony, but it made them very indistinguishable from the bushes. So I randomized the displacement a bit more and made the branches a bit more visible. So now they look a bit more natural, and basically the same thing for this part of the set. So just going back and forth, there's a lot of more randomness here, but I also removed some of the ferns over here because we had a discussion on making this a bit more of an open area. So, or at least that it looks a bit more like an open area, and that could directly connect to the mushroom grove over here to the left, even though it's all kind of faked. But at least there's the possibility of this being plausible. And here's just a closer look at the basically what I did with the trees, just making this a bit rounder, moving the canopy up and making the branches a bit more visible. So it's just less just this very smooth ball, but just getting a bit more random towards the bottom. And then just basically doing that treatment for 15 more trees, which are all scattered in the background. But it also needed to kind of hook up well to this shot over here where we see this entire like road over here, the pathway from the other side. It's making that kind of plausible while still making this kind of believable that this could be the mushroom grove, even though it isn't. It's all kind of cobbled together, but it works. There was also a request from the animators to edit this hole in the tree a bit more, so Elder Sprite isn't intersecting with it anymore, and also that it can work a bit better with lighting and shading later on by making this a bit deeper. And a bunch of more like adjustments for set and just helping out with like set dressing and lighting. And then just doing a really quick and dirty test of just like, how could we transition the two shapes? This is later on going to be like done way better with the rig and with the animators. But I just wanted to do like a really quick test if there's like an animation and it's actually switching on the shape key. So we have like this start shape that I already kind of sculpted, and then this shape in the end that I kind of sculpted, which is already being used in the sets. And this is just kind of the model for that. So, and that is essentially my week.
So this week I spent the whole week animating my first shot of village. And this is the first shot of the village, the number 13. And I received this layout and I made a first animation. For the first feedback, we see that the sprites are distracting too much. So I made another version. Here I got the newest version. Yeah, this is the first version. Then we see that the poses are too pushed, like they're too much cartoony, and we wanted like more contained in Ellie's character. So this is the newest version. I added more frames, so it's more at chooses now, and this is more like a blocking. And we solved the problem with the sprites. They're not distracting now, they're just passing away. And now I got a more final version, thinking it's now the last one. And I animated the bushes and the sprites. And this was my week.
This week I've been working on the same shot as the week before because it's huge, okay? So I'll just show you the blocking I had first days of the week and the last blocking. And no, wait, I did. Okay, no props and stuff. And it's pretty rough, but here I had the acting pretty established. So it was a question of working and get things done. And I love this shot. It's so much fun to have this responsibility to present the characters. But there was one thing that happened that I spent one entire afternoon, that when I copied one animation from one layer to another, the rigs kept exploding. So I got a lot of fun characters, like this one. She's Victoria's sister. And then Victoria with a huge head, Victoria with a huge body, and Victoria exploding. So yeah, that take was not that fun, but it's okay. We have new characters like Philby. Yeah, but apart from that, I'll show you the last blocking. It's this one. Yeah, now it's pretty solid, and I still have more days to work on it. Little things here and there, the lip sync, the contacts, poses, random poses there. And yeah, but that was my week.
So this week I started working on my shots 150, 170 for Village. This is a rough blocking for the first shot. This is where Ellie realizes that it's the first time that she might think these sprites are crazy, that she's doing some crazy sprites, but she's not sure. But here's my first shot. First blocking, super rough. I usually just throw poses in there just to show, just so I get some quick feedback. Super rough. Here's the final version, or more polished version. Here's the second shot where she looks over and she's like, wait, did I see what I just saw? Am I tripping? So here's a rough, super rough blocking pass. And here is the final version, more roughed out version. But yeah, that's what I did for this week.
These last weeks, I've been working on this shot. I had to do like some writing down some stuff because it was so much stuff going on with this shot. So let's start from the beginning. This is how the shot was looking at the beginning of 2 weeks ago. We decided to change the stuff around because the audio was a bit different. So we went to this version. And I decided to remove Ellie's legs to make it easier for us to see it. Basically, the first kind of feedback was removing the jump that she was having in the version before. So now she didn't have any jump. I replaced it by making her work more from the beginning. It was like now she was working too much. So we decided to go to another version. That is this one. So now she was working less than before. So yeah, later we decided when she was starting to working, so we decided to continue and adjust some timing around. So I did this version. This is working, and she's doing like some like waves and stuff like that with the body. So we kind of like this, but it was also a bit more adjusting the timing. So we decided to go for this version. So now she doesn't have arms, and she's just head and the body. But as you can see, like the timing that she's doing the wave is earlier than before, and also she started to do a different approach when she's going at the end of the log. So we like this. So we decided to go forward with this version. So I added legs and I added arms, and everything was looking awesome. And I started to animate the other guys. But we had some changes. And I had to go back to my legless, armless version of Ellie. So now she was not going to have any waves there. So she was going to be walking, and later she was going to catch up speed, and she was going to jump out of the log. So I did this version. I added some legs. I added some arms. And after some versions, we are at the end, and that's it. Now she has everything animated. I added the rest of the guys. Yeah, this is finally.
So this week I did some more work in Village, and I added the lip sync to my part of the whole village. So I'll show that first. It's very hard to see because it's so small. And I also worked on 130, and this is just after Elder Sprite falls down the tree and offers them some tea. Yeah, beginning it was just like super rough figuring out how Phil would start talking to Elder Sprite, and his move was too big, so I made a version where it's smaller. I'll show this one. Oh wait, no, sorry. And then yeah, I generally did some more work, got some notes from Frick, and now it's this far. I still have to know a few things, but yeah, that's what I got. That was my week.